First of all, very warm welcome to all the powerful women who have joined this session today. Before we get into the session and before I introduce you to our lovely speaker, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that everything that you are today, a leader, a caregiver, a planner, a doer, and everything in between. You have shown up for your families, for your teams, for your peers, and for your communities. And I'm so glad that today you have shown up for yourself. Now, this space is going to be a space for you to pause, to reflect, and to take charge of something very, very personal, which is your financial well being. Because, of course, we all deserve it, uh, not just for success, but for security, for freedom, and for our peace of mind. Before I introduce you to our speaker, I want to take a moment to share some new things that are happening on Grow with Satori's platform. Check out our leadership series on YouTube named as The Inner Edge. I'm going to share the link on the chat so you can take some time later after the webinar and check it out. Uh, Another one is The Forgotten Gift, Rediscovering Human Ingenuity. It's a four-series workshop talking about human ingenuity for problem solving, for personal branding, and for leading the teams. We have completed the workshop one last month, and this month on August 20th, we are going to meet again and we will talk about problem solving with ingenuity. Sharing more details about the other workshops within this series in the chat now. All right. Now let's talk about something very important. The speaker. Let me, Urmila Sampath, when Urmila reached out to us regarding this session, we not just found it very meaningful, but also something that we all have been thinking about, but we never talk much about it. Now, Urmila, with her foundation in banking at State Bank of India and extensive experience in teaching finance at Manipal School of Commerce and Economics, Manipal Academy of Banking, and the School of Business, RV University, Urmila has developed a comprehensive understanding of financial concepts and human financial behaviors. Her journey as a research scholar at Manipal Academy of Higher Education and Manipal, Karnataka, now centers on the critical area of women's financial preparation for retirement. Through her research, she delved into women's unique financial beliefs, behaviors, and decision-making processes. So currently she is dedicated to developing an impactful program specifically designed to enhance the financial awareness and empower women to take active control of their financial futures. And now I open the floor to you, Urmila. Thank you so much for taking the initiative of this lovely session. And it's all to you now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ishika, and thank you all for joining in for the session and responding by replying to that particular, filling the Google form. So let's move on to the session. Just please let me know once the screen is visible.
Today, we are going to look at some HR data and perform 10 types of analysis on it. Here are
visible and some audio is also playing.
Yeah, but that's not my audio.
I think I'll ask someone to mute here. Yeah, it's taken care
of. Is it
of.
visible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So when I and Shanti discussed, we particularly plan to keep the title of the session as a quick fin check. So it will be, very quick. It will be very direct, and it will be actually useful for each and every one of you present here. So I want to ask you all a particular question. So how often do you do a health checkup? Or when do you do a health checkup?
As you age annually.
Annually, okay. Are there any other responses?
Only when you're sick.
Only
I
when
do
you're sick?
annually for a complete checkup and once in 3 months for sugar.
Okay. So people who do once in 3 months for sugar or BP, right? Do they actually do a regular check? Sorry,
Yeah, it's
can
a
I
regular
can I
checkup.
proceed? Yeah. So do they normally start doing the checkup, just when they age, or when they actually are diagnosed with diabetes or BP? We generally start getting much more serious about these things only when we're actually diagnosed about it, right? Until then, it is like we live in a sense of euphoria that, okay, I am good, nothing will actually happen to me. So that is a kind of a euphoria we generally associate with finances also, and no, until and unless something actually happens to us. So let's quickly get to know a little bit more about ourselves who are actually present in this particular session. So I had asked all the people who are attending this particular session to fill a Google form, and this is what uh, are the data. This is the data which I had actually collected from the responses which has actually come. So we have a maximum participants belonging to the age group of 31 to 40, and we have good amount of representation in other age groups as well. And with respect to education, most of you are postgraduates. With respect to profession, most of you, 80% are actually salaried, and around 10% are entrepreneurs and 10% are freelancers. And with respect to marital status, again, 80%, more than 80% are married. And with respect to financial dependence, most of you have at least two financial dependents. That is, at least two people will get affected if suddenly there you stop working, or two people are actually dependent upon how much you earn. And then some people, others are having three dependents. Actually, most of the people are having at least two or three dependents, and then rest of them are having a range of dependents up to 1, 4, and 6. So when so many people are actually dependent upon your income, we have to be much more serious about it, right? The reason why I'm showing you this particular demographic status of this the participants of this session is the content of this session is being curated according to this particular demographic and what it actually asked for. So throughout this session, I will be drawing a lot of parallels between a health checkup and a financial checkup. Um, I am not able to see the participants because I'm presenting the screen. So in case you have any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask me. Okay. So these are the three aspects which I'll actually be covering in this particular session. Why should you take care of your finances, or why should you actually do a financial checkup? What generally stops you meaning here, this content is particularly addressing women. What generally stops women from taking finances seriously? And then the $1 million question, how to actually go forward it and go forward with it. Now, how do we actually go forward with it? The internet is filled with data. The internet, YouTube is filled with financial influencers. Now it's very difficult to actually understand which data is good data, which data is bad data, and which data is actually relevant to us, right? So we will try to decode that towards the end of the session. But first, I want to emphasize on why you actually have to focus on your finances. As women, why do we have to take care of our finances, and why we should have at least some amount of whatever we are earning dedicated to us and us alone? So what generally happens is, especially in today's world, a man and a woman, right, they graduate, let's say, at the same time. But after that, when they start their careers and when they start their own personal journeys in their life, if you actually see, they grow apart with respect to finances. Whether a man is getting married, whether a man is having a child, whether a man is having dependents, his finances are not that much affected when it is actually compared to us, because we are not only no financially invested in our families, but our emotional investment is much more. Somehow we are not only traditionally shaped to take care of our dependents, take more part in the unpaid care activities. We think that it is our duty, it is our obligation, and we generally cannot afford also to have caregivers, right? For example, two people are working and someone is actually falling sick in the family. So invariably, the caregiving duty falls on the daughter or the wife or the sister. And even though the man contributes, their career doesn't get affected as much as it affects us. So if I have to quote a personal example, my mother went through a bypass surgery, and when she went through a bypass surgery, we knew that the recovery period is going to be long. So at that particular point of time we have to have a caregiver. But what will the caregiver do? The caregiver will take care of her physical needs, but what about her diet? What about you know all the other things, the emotional caregiving which we actually have to give? So I decided that okay, I cannot go to a full time job where I have to go to college every day and spend 9 to 12 hours in a college. I have to leave home at 7 a.m. I reach back only at 7 p.m. I cannot actually dedicate wholesome time to her to take care of her. So I started searching for another job. And when she was in the hospital for 2 months, I had to take LOP, loss of pay, and I had to spend time with my mother. So this was not asked of me, no one actually asked me to do it. But we are emotionally invested with our parents, we are emotionally invested with our family, that we think predominantly it is our duty, someone has to do it. And in most of the families, the man will be earning much more than the woman, and the man's income cannot be compromised, whereas the woman, by default, she takes a back seat. So when we do all this, right, by the time we age, by the time we grow old, our financial capacity is much lesser than what the man actually has. And in case we end up being alone when we become old, at that time who will actually take care of us? We won't be able to work, we are not physically strong, we might be having a lot of other issues. At that time, who will actually financially take care of us? Let's just look at some statistics. As of 2021, the OECD, it's an international institution which is looking after and researching on the economic development of its member countries. It has said that women have about 26% lesser retirement income when compared to men, and 30 to 40% lesser retirement savings. Why does this happen? There are two things. One is, sometimes we women take safe job options, right? So we take job options where work life balance is more, we don't go for leadership positions, we stop our growth somewhere, so our income growth becomes affected. And if we take career breaks because of a childbirth, or because we are taking care of someone in the family, at that time when we come back and start our career again, we will be having an income loss, and we will be having a career progression loss also. So all these losses accumulate, and in the end, if you see, when you compare our savings with that of men, we are definitely at a disadvantage. So what actually happens is, this is the population growth which we are expecting with respect to India. Right now, we are somewhere around 35 to 35% of the population is the elderly population. Our average age of the Indian is around 28 to 29 years. But if we are one of the youngest nations, we are also can become one of the oldest nations, right? So the nation where maximum population is belonging to the elderly people. And if we are part of that elderly people, the government will not be able to take care of us. They will not be able to give us enough facilities. And if we have not saved for ourselves, then we will definitely be at a very bad situation. And if you see this, women also have a greater longevity when actually compared to men. So if you see this particular statistics according to India Aging Report 2023, at 60 plus years or 70 plus years or 80 plus years, at all levels, women outlive men. So we need to save for our retirement. We need to be much more prudent with our finances. Otherwise, when we are old and frail and we are not able to contribute to the labor force, and if we don't have enough finances, and if we don't have a partner to actually depend upon, then our situation will be very bad. And we can definitely not count on anyone else, right? neither spouse, neither children. Children might, with India again being the most populous country, they might have to travel abroad for better opportunities. They might not be near us. So we cannot depend on our family. And even added to that, there is one more problem where when women's life expectancy is actually higher than men, our healthy life expectancy is much more lesser. Meaning, as we grow older, women have much more health problems when compared to men, but we will live longer than men. So, what actually happens is we will live longer, but we will be having a lot of health expenses. We will be having a lot of health issues. So, this is again another important reason why we have to be much more cautious and conscious about our finances. So, let's look at some of the responses which the participants had given in the Google form. So the first thing is, when I asked, do you think you should be concerned about saving and investing, you see that 85% have actually said yes, I should be aware of it. But there is also some people who have actually told, I don't think it is my role. The money management is taken care by my family members. But what if your family members are not there with you when you actually need the money and when you're old? Or there might be another situation, right? So one of my during my research, I met one of the ladies whose husband was very supportive. He was very financially prudent, and he had done enough insurance for the particular lady. And unfortunately, he expired, and the lady got around 7 to 8 crores corpus. She was not knowing what to do with the corpus. She just put the entire money in the bank. Lot of relatives came, lot of friends came. They gave her a lot of advice: do this, do that. And then she also did not know what to do with it. She spent extravagantly, and that 7 crore corpus, it's now come down to 2 crores. 7 to 2 crores, and she doesn't have any assets to actually justify that vanishing of the 5 crores, and she still has 2 children to take care of. So we cannot bank upon our family. Our family may be very good, but we don't know what will happen in the future, right? Just like how we know that we have to take care of our health, we also have to take care of our financial health. And there is one more thing over here. If I had again asked another question, can you say that you're aware and confident about your current financial position? As expected, even in the minimal amount of participants that actually filled this Google form, even among them, I had only around 21 responses. Even in that amount of responses, 42% or the majority have actually said no, I'm not confident, I'm not aware of what my current financial position is. And very interestingly, again, 33% have actually said maybe. But what do you mean by maybe? I'm doing something, but I don't know whether it is actually enough, right? So maybe is again a very dangerous situation, because you might get false confidence that you are doing something, but that something will no amount to nothing if it is not directed properly at what you actually want to achieve. So this being the mentality, this is why I want to instill the importance of this particular concept. We have to take ownership. So we cannot say our family will take care of it, or we cannot say I'm not confident, or I know I'm maybe confident. Just like we try to eat healthy, we try to do an annual checkup, and then after annual checkup we try to go for walking or yoga or gym or something. We try to do something for ourselves. We also have to start becoming more aware of the financial concepts, and we have to start taking ownership of our individual finances. As a family, you might be doing very well, but as an individual, as a woman, how much financially confident are you, and what finances are you actually directing to your individual financial well-being? So when I had actually asked, what does money mean to you, there were a lot of responses, and I feed in all those responses and generated a word cloud. And can you see what is the maximum amount of what was the response majority of them had actually given? Can you please read out 2-3 things which you think majority of them had actually answered?
Freedom, comfort, life.
Yeah, freedom, comfort, independence. So how do you understand this word cloud? Is the biggest word is the word which is actually being mentioned by many of the participants, right? So they have actually mentioned freedom. Freedom of what? freedom of choice. If you save properly, if you are financially prudent, even if something comes up, right, you have a freedom of choice. You can do something. When you have money in your hand, you can actually have the freedom. Do I live alone? Do I live with my family? Do I go somewhere? Do I eat something? So do I buy something? This freedom is actually very important. I'm kind of reminded of a fairy tale which I actually read. Not exactly a fairy tale. It was a tale regarding a knight. No, in abroad, the kingdoms and their ministers, and then people who work for them, they are all, some of them are known as knights, right? So um, a knight was asked a question: what do women want the most? And I'm posing that question to you people. What do you think women want the most? You can say anything. It need not be related to money. What do you think women want the most?
Respect,
Respect. Okay.
liberty of choice.
Liberty of choice. Okay. What do you want the most? The most in life? Okay. What do every woman want the most? If they have that, then they're very happy.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Okay.
Independent
Okay.
and confidence.
Independence and confidence. Okay. So the answer which was actually given by the knight, which was the right answer, is women want their way in everything. That is what they want the most, and I tend to agree. So we want to have our own choice, right? We want to have our own. We at least want to have the freedom to actually express what we want. We want our voice, we want our choice, we want our opinion. Whether it actually happens or not is secondary, but we have to have the freedom to actually express what we want. And that is actually represented here also. When I just asked you the question, what does money mean to you, you had given me so many answers, but even among those 21 people, the majority of them actually had mentioned the word freedom. So if you want the freedom, you have to know what to do with money and how to be prudent with it if you want to achieve this. So this is, now I think I have sufficiently covered why financial prudence is so important, why taking care of our own finances as women is very, very important. So I will move on to what and how. But before I move on to what and how, do you have any questions with regard to why? Any questions? Is there anyone who thinks that it is still not very important for you to actually know about finances or take care about finances, take care of your own finances? I cannot see if you're raising hands or putting responses in the chat box because I'm presenting the screen. So please feel free to unmute and speak. Can I assume all of you are convinced that it
Convinced
is
and
actually
thoughtful.
important? Okay. Thank you, Shanti. Convinced and thoughtful. Okay. So now let's move on to a very, very significant topic of this particular session. See, you might look into a lot of YouTube videos. You might look into a lot of sessions which actually will give you ways, do this, do that, start an SIP, take this SIP calculator, do this fire calculator, do this retirement calculator, do it like this. It's actually very good to you. It is actually very suitable. But generally what actually happens across the globe is women attend these financial education programs, but when they actually see the aftermath, in the impact of these programs, right, they don't take any action towards it. And that's because we have our own innate belief system that is actually stopping us. And if we address this belief system, automatically you will start taking care of your finances. So that is what we are going to do next. We are going to see what actually stops you. So there are around 12 beliefs that we are actually going to visit. Please look, when I'm talking about these beliefs, kindly have a introspection, self reflection as to how many of these beliefs actually um, relate to you. Okay, have you actually felt anything like this? Have you which actually stops you from taking care of your finances? You want to take care of your finances, but because of these kind of beliefs or these kind of reasons, you are not taking care of your finances. So when I'm talking about this, we are going to visit each of this belief little bit in detail in the next slide. So post that, I'm going to pose a question to you where you'll be asked to respond with regard to how many of these beliefs you know um, you are relating to, and you have actually felt these things, and it's actually stopping you from taking control of your own finances. So the very first thing is math anxiety. So this is something which we had got from a research finding. It is said that we women, we are very consciously we handle money, and then we do our budgeting and all those things, but when it actually comes to planning our financial goals, we face an anxiety. Oh, how much should I calculate? I should calculate that, I should do this, I should calculate the risk. There is too much of involvement of numbers, and I want to stay away with it. Handling money, you give me so much, you have to spend so much, I should not spend that, I will do. But I can't take control of planning for my future goals. I can't take control of calculating what is actually required and then doing it. So women tend to have something known as math anxiety. And second is gender roles. So we believe that let's have a division of responsibilities. I'll take care of the children, I'll take care of their studies, I'll take care of their homework, I'll take care of cooking, I'll take care of cleaning. So even though I'm working, planning the finances for the family, it is the man's job. He has to do that. I'm doing this, let him do that. It's a simple diversion of responsibilities, division of responsibilities. That is what we actually think. But because we are doing this, we are comfortably ignorant of how to handle finances. During COVID time, many organizations actually had given training to their female staff on even how to pay their bills. They didn't know how to pay their bills online. They didn't know how to manage their funds online. They didn't know how to manage what type of fund. And then suddenly, when COVID threw so many expenses at us, and then income loss, job loss, expenses, and all those things, we were not able to manage because we were not actually financially ready for it. See, men are also taking care of children nowadays. Men are also cooking nowadays. But we are seeing a significant gap when among women, where they are still thinking that financial management, long term financial management, it is a man's role. I don't want to learn it. That is actually stopping us from stepping into the other person's shoes. And then living in the present. This is a very interesting concept for people who are below 40, or people who are unmarried and or married and not having children. So they say that I want to live in the present. I don't want to worry so much about the future. Who knows whether I'll stay alive for so long? Why should I save? Let me live the present. Let me enjoy the present. And our economy, our income tax system, the current income tax system, and then our loan apps, and then the discounts, and then the social media, and then the quick commerce apps like Zepto, Blinkit, all that, all of them are actually helping this concept of living in the present. If we wanted to buy something earlier, we had to go to a shop and buy. That itself will give us a thought process. Should I go so far? Let me go after 1 week, let me go after 2 weeks. So we had some time gap between thinking of spending and actually spending. And this time gap actually reduce a lot of thoughts of spending that particular money. Then you will start thinking, it's okay, I will not use it, let me just not spend that particular money. But now if you want to buy something, if you want to eat something, you have Swiggy and Zomato in your phone, you have Blinkit and Zepto in your phone. You have, the moment you think, you just have to pick up your phone and you end up spending. So all that is aiding this living in the present, and all that is actually draining your money. Next, this is a very interesting concept with respect to women, which we actually found. Women wait to get responsibilities to actually become financially more prudent. some women told, let me enjoy now, I will start becoming much more serious when I get married and when I have my kids. Because the underlying thought for this particular belief is that the finances are to be taken care with respect to the family. I will have to plan for my children. I will have to plan for my future along with my partner. Women, we are not socialized, are not brought up generally to think about ourselves, the financial needs that we will personally need for me alone, for my health expenditure, for my retirement expenditure, for my particular goal. No, all most of our goals are actually linked with the family's goals, and that's why they actually say that let me wait until I get much more responsibilities to actually save and invest. And then this is again one of the most common things: no money to save. I don't have money to save. And why do you think this particular idea that I don't have money to save comes? One is either you have a lot of expenses or you have debts. When you have debts and expenses, you practically think that you don't have any money to save. But then saving should actually come as a habit, and investing should actually become a habit, just like how we brush and how we groom ourselves. So until that comes, we will still be keeping on thinking that, I don't have money to save, let me earn a little bit more and then I will save. But then you're losing a lot of time, and that with time you're losing a lot of opportunities for your money to compound also. Do you know that there is a concept called as micro SIP in mutual funds? You can invest even if you're having 10 rupees. You can invest even if you're having 100 rupees in certain funds. Try that. If you want to consciously, build a habit, try that. Start with that. Previously, we
Urmila,
used to
can I
have piggy
ask you
bank.
something?
Yeah, sure.
Does it actually work? And how does it make a difference? Because we always have this conception in our mind that it's barely 100 rupees, 500 rupees. What would even
Hmm.
do, like it do for us? So can you tell me about that?
Yes, sure. I will answer. I will come back to this question with some ideas also on how you can do it in the upcoming slides. And in case I miss this point, kindly let me know. But I do have
Sure,
some ideas on how you can actually do this.
sure,
Okay.
sure. Thank you. Yeah.
So yes. So even if you're earning, 1,000 rupees, even if you're earning 10,000 rupees, you can still inculcate a habit in that. And we will revisit this particular belief a little bit later. But I'm just presenting this here so that you don't let this stop you from becoming financially much more savvy. Next, fear of social stigma. This is again one more very, very interesting concept which we actually found. When I'm talking about, money for yourself, money for women alone, there is some kind of fear, in us. What will people say? They'll say that I'm very selfish. They'll say that I'm very arrogant because I'm actually earning. And people actually have this belief that if a woman is taking her own financial decisions without, you know um, tying every single thing with the family, then she's perceived to be selfish. She's perceived to be arrogant, and she's getting that arrogance. Why? Because she's earning money. I mean, why is arrogance associated with us earning money when arrogance is not associated with the man earning money? Again, it is coming back to this gender role where predominantly people are, many of them are still thinking that earning money is a man's role. And because when women steps into that particular role and she earns money and she wants to take her own financial decisions, they call her as selfish, or they call her as arrogant. And then lack of awareness. We don't know what to do, why we have to do it, when we have to do it, where we have to do it. Because again, we are being taught in most of our houses, we were actually being taught how to cook, how to dress, how to talk, how to behave in front of elders, how to respect elders. But no one actually sat and spoke about finances when we grew up, or when we unconsciously saw our parents handling finances. We always saw our fathers taking a dominant role with respect to financial management. And that underlying thought, again, it stays with us. We are unconsciously conditioned to believe that finances are not our role. So we don't take a conscious effort to actually know about it, right? We don't do it. Now, if you want to learn something, You go and learn something. If your manager says that you have to learn this particular skill, we go and learn that. But we are still, lagging behind in learning this skill, taking care of our own finances and talking about finances, because again it's the underlying belief of the gender roles. Next, locus of control. So locus of control is again a very interesting concept. What it actually means is, I'll manage. It's okay, whatever happens I will manage. When we are young, or when we are not seen any negative incidents in life, no, we get this kind of a confidence, just like how we think about our health. Whatever I eat, it'll get digested. For me, no problem. I can sleep till noon. I will not get affected. I will be awake till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'll not get affected. We have that sense of confidence, right? That my body is under my control. But when we age, we know that certain things are not under our control, and that time we'll have to run behind doctors and medicines. So the same kind of a false security, sense of false security, is what we have with respect to money. When we are young, we'll manage. But when we are faced with some kind of a situation, that is when the reality strikes us, and that time it strikes us very hard. Then familial savings, we have already visited this point with respect to waiting for responsibilities. Risk aversiveness. Predominantly women are aversive to taking any risk. That is again going back to the way where we are brought up and we are socially conditioned like that. Don't go there, it's not safe. It's dark, don't go outside. Don't go alone. Don't wear this kind of a dress and go. And I'm not um, against this kind of cautions, because we are living in that kind of an environment, right? If we don't take that kind of precaution, if we are not very cautious, then we don't know what actually will happen, because there are a lot of elements out, societal elements outside, and it is our responsibility to take care of ourselves. So we women have an innate aversiveness to taking risk. We are very cautious. I know a person, she's heading the south region in her role in one of the particular companies, and she's earning lakhs. But if you actually ask her about her savings and investment options, it is only FD and savings account, because she doesn't want to take risk. I want my money to be safe. I want to see the number, and I want the number to be constant. So this risk aversiveness. Again, what happens is, we take safe investment options, PPF, government schemes, FD, RD, savings or savings account. When all the safe investment options we take it, money is safe, but it doesn't grow. We are not using the full capacity of the money to grow the money to actually achieve our goals, and it pinches us in the end. When we earned so much, we saved so much, but the investment is actually not grown. Future time perspective means we are more worried about what is immediate. This month budget management, today's sabzi management, today what I have to buy, what vegetable I have to buy. We are very cautious about that. We are very um, focused about that. But you ask any lady about what is her retirement plan, how much has she saved for her retirement plan, they'll say, I want to travel during my retirement, I want to do this, I want to do that. But if you actually ask how have they planned it, then you most probably will be just hearing silence. Because as women, most of us, we are trained to look at what is immediate and what is now important now. So we will save, let's say we will save for something, but suddenly some family emergency comes, we'll take that money and we'll spend it off for the family emergency. So you have saved for the long term, but suddenly something comes now, you take it and you give it. Why? Because it's our own family. But then what about your long term goal? That again is a question mark. And the last one, again, we women suffer from perfection paralysis. I have heard women who say, I want to know everything about how to invest, where to invest, how much to invest, when to invest, and all that. Only then I will go and invest. Until then, my money will sit in the savings account. We want it to be perfect. And this perfection actually stops us from growing in our careers also, because we think sometimes that we are not ready for that particular role. We are not perfect for that particular role. It is men, most of the men say think that let me go and learn. For us, it is like let me learn and then go. And this again stops us from taking control of our finances. So I think I have explained all the beliefs. I will give you a minute please just take a moment to reflect. And if you have any doubts, or if you did not understand any of this particular beliefs, please let me know. So we clarify it, we have a clear understanding, and then we will move on to the question where you will have a self reflection. Please let me know if you're still having any doubts with regard to any of these beliefs.
Yeah, Urmila, may I share a story?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I am a coach, and during the COVID times, there was this NGO that was offering coaching to widowed women. And I put up my hand to coach these women. And I would think of myself as pretty independent, being able to decide, know about my money, where, what is happening. I had lots of confidence. And then one day I met up with this new mom who was widowed with an 8-month-old baby. The husband had passed away at the hospital. They wouldn't let her see him for the last rites because it was that wave two, which was very critical. And she didn't seem hassled. It was like, okay, I need to know what I can do, what is happening. And, it seemed very unnatural for me, for a woman who has lost her husband just about a week ago. Um, is uh, is very tactical in her conversations. Um and when I pointed it out to her, she said, Shanti, my I had to pay the hospital money. I didn't know which bank accounts were active and how to transfer that money. For the cremation, also, the hospital was charging us some money so that it can be done in a safe way. I had to ask my brother to pay it at that point in time, and I had an 8-month baby on my lap, and I had no clue of where my husband had put his money, saved, what will happen to our future. I'm clueless. So her thing was, I don't even have time to, cry, weep, to mourn. That was not something that I had the luxury of. I now need to figure things out. Um, that conversation really made me realize that I may be independent, but am I well aware of what my partner is doing? Is my partner aware of it? Do my children know where I have invested? So definitely, I think the more we know, the more we communicate, the more we share, the better it is. So you can never be more financially independent. There's always more scope to be. Yeah, thank you. That's the story that I was reminded, especially when you mentioned the gender roles. I was like, yeah, she's an engineer, moved from Delhi to Coimbatore, just settled, saying that, I will not work till my child is 5, and now she has no option but to go and work. Yeah.
Urmila, you're mute actually.
Yeah, I was just saying thank you for bringing the story up. Is there any doubts with regard to the meaning of any of these beliefs? Can we move on?
Yes.
We can, Urmila. There are some thumbs up coming.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So let me just so I will put up the link to a form. There's only one question where all these beliefs are actually mentioned. I would please request you to go through the beliefs listed there, and please tick all the beliefs that are actually applicable to you. Somewhere, sometime you've actually faced it, and that has actually stopped you from taking care of your own finances. So the link is in the chat box. I'll give you 2 minutes. have got 9 responses. We'll just wait for 1 more minute and then we can look at the responses. Okay, let me share the responses. One second. Is the screen up?
Yes. Not yet. We can see ourselves.
Yeah, okay. So here are the responses. Okay. So lack of awareness, 9 people, all 9 have actually clicked on lack of awareness. And then risk aversiveness. The second is risk aversiveness. Math anxiety, perfection paralysis. Okay. I don't earn enough and future time perspective. Okay. So waiting for responsibilities. Interestingly, none of us are actually waiting for any responsibilities. We are ready to save, but then one person is actually answered familial savings. Okay. So this is the self reflection. I want this is the outcome I actually wanted from this particular session. It's very important that you first confront your own beliefs and then you see how to tackle those beliefs. So many at times these beliefs are what we are socially conditioned with. This is what we are actually brought up with, or we are influenced by our peers, that we don't even know that we are actually being influenced by this beliefs and this is stopping us from doing something. So I'm very glad and thank you for responding. I'm very glad that you've actually been able to have an introspection into what are the beliefs that are actually stopping you. So let's go back. So what we actually have to understand is whatever is the reason or belief, we are the ones who will pay the penalty if we are alone, we are no longer part of the workforce and we are not having enough money to actually take care of ourselves. And we cannot say any excuses, especially when we are working so hard and we are earning. And if we are not able to take care of our own earnings. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this particular session. So we saw why you should do it, and then we saw what stops you, and now we are going to jump into the action plan. So before we actually go move on to how to go forward, are there any questions with regard to the belief systems?
Not for me.
Okay, can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. So now let's actually jump into the topic, our financial checkup. Before getting into a financial checkup, I want to show you some of the responses which actually had come up in that particular Google form. So the first thing is, when I asked, do you track your expenses? Majority of them had said, no, I set aside some investments and savings and then remaining everything I spend. So it means you have something as mandatory, excuse me, for insurance, for your PF, your insurance, or and then your maybe certain things which you have actually said that you save it for. Apart from that, whatever is the remaining money, everything you're actually spending. And then the next majority is actually told, I generally don't keep a track of my expenses. I spend how much ever I need. But how much do you need? Are you tracking your needs? Or is it fluctuating month by month, month to month? How do you know that how much you need? Have you actually thought about it? Have you actually accounted it? That is a question which we have to ask ourselves. And the another question which I asked is, which of these options match your financial behavior? And majority of them had told, I have investments, but it is not linked to any specific goals. Majority again here. Okay. And there are responses with respect to other categories also. But when you look at the majority response, right? See, this is again something which we are doing wrong. And this is not a behavior which is pertain only to women or men, but it is generally there predominantly in women. Okay. So we have investments, but we are not tying it to any particular goal. So what happens there is any expense that comes, any family emergency that comes, anything that comes, we tend to take the money out and we tend to give. And then we don't have any goal based investments. There is no accountability over there. And suddenly we don't know for what we spent, why we spent, and we compromise our own financial security and financial goals. So this is again a data which I had actually collected. I had given you various options and I asked you, how many of you have invested in these particular options. So bank deposits are predominant, provident fund and workplace, yes, because majority of you are salaried. And then mutual funds, yes, gold by default, and rest of the options are here and there. And if you actually see the long term investment retirement savings scheme, only 6 of them have actually said that they actually have a retirement savings scheme. But is it your PF scheme or is it something apart from your provident fund or provident EPF pension which you're actually having at your workplace? That is a question again which you have to ask ourselves. And then with respect to debt, someone had raised the question that I had not given an option, that option of none over here. I apologize. So please feel free to say that you do not have any loans or any debts outstanding, including a credit card. Please feel free to call it out. I'm assuming that majority of them had actually clicked on credit card because they didn't have a choice to choose none as an option. But why this particular thing was given is again to get a reflection on what kind of debts we usually tend to have. Majority of them are home loan because that is the longest loan, and then we all want to have a place of our own, and credit card, and then personal loan. But many of us are being pushed into these things because of our societal expectations, our peer expectations, our peer behaviors. How many of us have actually been told by people that, oh, you started earning, now next is you buy a car, you buy a house, and then you do these things. So we tend to get pushed into those things without even thinking whether those investment choices are wise and are they actually required in the current scenario. So this is the picture which was actually given to me by the respondents in this particular group. So now let's have an actual financial checkup. um, Please feel free to take notes of all these things, because I will be giving you options on how to do certain things, and I'll also be mentioning some tried and tested companies, and where you will get solid advice without any bias and without any spam calls. So the first thing in a checkup, right, in a financial checkup, the first mandatory thing which you have to have is a term insurance and a health insurance. Many of the big companies, they provide a term insurance and health insurance. That is not what I'm actually talking about. Irrespective of whether the company is giving you a term insurance and a health insurance, you have to have a term insurance and a health insurance. If you do not have one now, just please make it a point that within the next 6 months you will somehow save money for premium, and then you will take up a term insurance and a health insurance personally. It is not linked to your company. Please don't say that my company is giving it to me, so I am not going to take it. No. But if you have a term insurance and a health insurance personally without a linkage to your particular employer, you will also be having the freedom to shift your jobs. See, during COVID, what happened? Many of them lost their jobs, and health expenses also came hand in hand. One side job loss, one side health expenses. And with the job, their health insurance also went. They did not have any health insurance to actually take care of their health expenses. This is what happens with respect to the health insurance provided by the company. From the company point of view, it is a perk, it's a benefit given to attract you. But is it actually enough? We need to have our investments individually. We should not tie it with our employment status. Tomorrow, you should be having the freedom. Again, coming back to it, you should be having the freedom to quit your job, and you should not be obligated to stick to the job just because you're having an insurance benefit in this particular job. If we don't take care of this now, it's going to be very detrimental for us in the later stage. So there is two more points over here which we have to note. Term insurance, many people confuse this insurance with other kind of insurances. And these insurance companies also, many people, they try to confuse us with a lot of different scheme names and with a lot of quoting a lot of benefits, just because they want to sell, they want to market the product. A term insurance is one where we will not get any benefit if we are alive. I can take a term insurance for the next 30 years, and if I die within the 30 years, my family will get a certain amount of money. So what happens in that is, I need not be worried that tomorrow if I'm not there, who will take care of my family? That's a major worry which is gone. I will have the freedom to choose something, to do something, because I don't have that worry that financially my family will be struggling if I'm not there tomorrow. So the first thing which we have to do is we need to have a term insurance, and we need to tell our trusted family members, again quote, trusted family members, that I have taken a term insurance. In case something happens to me, contact this particular health insurance, contact this particular insurance company, and they will give the money. So even if I take a loan tomorrow and the loan is huge, but even then, if something happens to me, the term insurance will also take care of the loan repayment. So term insurance is must. I will not get any benefit when I'm alive, but if I die during the time when I'm actually taking care of my family, financially taking care of my family will not struggle. All the people who selected the options that so many people are dependent upon my income, all of you have to have a term insurance. It's a must. One more benefit of term insurance is, the younger you are, the premiums are very less. The older you are, the premiums are a little bit more. And then the health checkup and all those things which they do before giving you a policy is also more. Okay. And then coming to health insurance. Health insurance is something which you have to have in your personal, financial instrument list. It's a must. Do not depend upon the health insurance which is actually given by your company. Take a health insurance, and every 5 years, at least every 5 years, try to scale up the amount. Many people, what they'll do is they'll take a health insurance for 5 lakh or 10 lakh, and then even after 10 years, the health insurance amount will still be 10 lakh. But if you actually see outside, the health expenses which would have grown much more. In India, there are two things where inflation is a lot. One is the education expense, and another is the health expense. Education expense stands first. The inflation in education expenses is a lot. That stands first. The second is the health expense. It's almost 16% inflation. Overall Indian inflation and food inflation, etc., is set to be 7%. But then the inflation in the health expenses is approximately 16%. So scale up your health insurance. And people who do not have this yet, where do you actually get good advice, unbiased advice? My personal experience, I'm not marketing any company here, I'm not associated with any company. My personal experience is the company called Ditto, Ditto, Ditto Insurance. They give you unbiased advice, and they only deal with term and health insurance. So you can just go to their website and book an appointment. They will call you at that particular appointment. They will speak to you, and after that, there will not be any calls. If you go for any other kind of platforms like Policy Bazaar and all that, they'll call you 100 times. Or if you go to an insurance agent, they'll call you 100 times. And they will try to quote only the benefits, and they will try to sell you the policy, because for them it's a target. For Ditto Insurance also is an insurance company, but insurance agent company, but they will give you unbiased advice, and they will tailor the advice to what you actually require for your income, for your requirements, for your health requirements. And then after that, they do not call. So the first and foremost item which has to be there in your financial checklist is insurances, and even in insurances, only term and health insurance. Please do not go for any other life insurance policy like endowment insurance policy. Endowment insurance policy and life insurance, it is used interchangeably. What happens there is, if I'm alive, after so many years I'll get so much amount. After 4 years I'll get some amount. After 6 years I'll get some amount. All these are endowment policies. These policies are not good investment vehicles at all. Why? Because along with giving you a certain percent of return, they also have to cover the risk of a person not being alive, right? So they also are covering the element of risk of longevity or risk of something happening. So that's why the returns in endowment policies are very, very less. And if you go for a policy, there is something called as ULIP, Unit Linked Insurance Plan. The insurance plan is linked to the market condition. So you never know what will be the amount you will get back after so many years. Few years back, there was a particular case, a very famous big brand insurance company. It had sold a ULIP policy to a person who was around around 58, 59 years. And then I think he should be around 55 years. After that, after 5 years, when he actually came and he wanted to redeem his policy, you know how much was the returns? 548 rupees, even after investing so much. So please do not treat insurances as an investment vehicle. You have to have only term insurance and health insurance. Can I move on to the next one? Do you have any doubts here? Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, what about family health insurance?
Family floater health insurance you're talking about, right?
Which is like, I am I'm independent right now,
Okay.
partially, and we have a family insurance. Let's say my mom,
Okay.
dad, my brother, and I am covered. So how does that go then? Do I still need my personal insurance?
Personal is always recommended. When will family floater insurance be beneficial is when the parents are aged and premiums are very high. At that particular point of time, family floater will make sense because premiums is very high, you're not able to pay, that kind of thing. But for you and for your brother, people who are young, family
Mm-hmm.
floater insurance is not enough. Because see, if for let's take an example, let's say there are two parents and then two kids. So if the possibility of health expenses coming for the parents is much more than the people who are younger, in a general hypothetical situation, right? Possibility is more for them. So if you are using the insurance amount for them and then something untoward happens, you are left with no insurance amount for yourselves, for the people who are younger. So family floater you can have, that will be ideal when people are very old and premiums are very high, you're not able to afford it. But when people are younger, you have to have your own insurance. And for you, the premiums will be lesser also if you're taking individual policies. And whenever you're able to, earn more and get more money, that time you can scale up your insurance also.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
Pradeepa has raised her
Yeah.
hand.
Hey, hi,
Yeah.
Urmila. So,
Hi.
my parents, both of them are retired and they do not have any sort of insurance policies for them covered right now. Uh, I do have an individual term as well as a health insurance that covers me. But what do you think would be a good option for me to, go ahead and plan one for them? Would you recommend an individual health and term insurance for both of them, or do you have any other better options for me to go about it?
See, for them, term insurance you will not get. Term insurance is usually suggested only for people who are earning. So that when
Ansha,
we are
okay.
earning and suddenly we are not there, then our family should not suffer. So only for
Okay.
them, term insurance is suggested.
Mhm.
Health insurance, how old are they?
Uh, so my dad's 60 and my mom's 58.
Okay, so until 65 also you can get individual health insurance that
Mhm.
is available. the plans are available. I suggest
Okay.
you can please contact Ditto, and they
Okay.
will give you good information. In case they say,
Mhm.
sometimes the parents will be very old. For example, my dad is 70, and
Mhm.
I know I was not able to get a plan for him earlier enough. I was not
Mhm.
prudent. I was not aware at that particular point of time. So for him, I had to take a substantial insurance with my company. I had to switch companies because I had to get that particular benefit for my dad. And now I'm
Okay.
tied down to that particular company because of that particular benefit which I'm actually getting. So that is why I'm saying, if you have these things for your own, you'll be having much more freedom to move around and make much more choices. With respect to your parents, you still have options. I think you can still take an insurance up to the age of 60, 65, but the premiums will be on a higher end because they're already old. But please contact Ditto, they will give you the actual picture.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Can we move on?
Yes.
Yes. Next, emergency fund. This is a concept which is over discussed, but actually it's under understood. It's a very underrated concept, though it is discussed a lot. So we don't know how much should be an emergency fund, right? Because we can't predict emergencies. And then what is an emergency? It's like if you ask for someone, suddenly a food craving can be an emergency, a medical expense can be an emergency, or giving a friend some money may be an emergency. The concept of emergency is different for different people. But the thing is, if you are planning your finances according to your goals, you set aside your money for each and every goal, or for each and every insurance, and for everything else, and then you set aside an emergency fund. Emergency fund will be for true emergencies where you don't have money at all, you don't have any other go, and you have to spend that particular money. For example, the time when we had in COVID, during COVID, what used to actually happen is many of the hospitals, they did not accept insurance. They said first you pay, later on you can claim with your insurance company, because insurance companies had a very difficult time paying up the bills during the first wave. That during the second wave, many of the hospitals did not accept the insurances, even though we had. I personally faced this particular situation. So we have to have a emergency fund, and we have to build it, and that is why I have placed it right below the insurance. The first thing in your checklist has to be insurance. The second thing should be your emergency fund. And how much should be your emergency fund? To know how much is your emergency fund, you have to know how much you spend every month. What is your necessity, not want. Necessity in the sense, your travel expenses, your food expenses, your rent, your medicine expenses, all these come under necessity. They are necessary for you to live. Not your subscription, not your Amazon Prime, not your Netflix, okay, not your phone recharge for an exorbitant amount, not your extravagant data expenses. Those do not come under necessity. Those are wants. Wants can be reduced or increased as per our convenience. Necessities are the ones where you have to spend on that. Otherwise it's very difficult for you to live, and for you to maintain that particular living, you have to spend on that. So apart from that, calculate your expenses, calculate your necessities, calculate a little bit of your wants, and then multiply that into 4 to 6 months. 4 months of your expenses or 6 months of expenses. So first start building your emergency fund for targeting 4 months of your expenses. Okay, once you reach that particular 4 months expense, then add in 2 more months of expenses and build that particular fund, and then maintain it in a separate account, separate FD account, FD, or separate savings account. And this amount should not be there in your regular savings account. I strongly recommend, please have two savings account. One account should be linked to your employer and UPI, and one more account should not be linked to your UPI. You have to have a account which is not linked to your UPI. This may sound very um, you know counterintuitive. In a sense, it may sound like I'm against UPI. I'm not against UPI. Why I'm saying this is because if you actually notice, we are just navigating every single day, no, zigzagging through spam calls and spam messages and spam links. We are being constantly targeted by pranksters and then people who are trying to create a scamsters and pranksters. We are constantly being targeted by them. So I had mentioned that my mother was hospitalized, right? So I had uh, collected money and then I had kept it in my account because every day we had to settle the pharmacy bill. Every day it used to be 10,000, 20,000, 25,000. So daily we had to settle the pharmacy bill. So I had substantial amount of money in my account so that it was easy for me to pay the bills every single day, settle it every single day. And do you know the amount of messages which I actually got and the amount of links which are actually being forwarded to me saying that click here, you have gotten reward. Click here, no, the police is trying to reach you. Click here, your to know your balance. And then once all that ordeal was over and I didn't have any money in my account, the amount of messages also came down. And this is because the UPI being linked to our account, it is very easy for others to also know how much exact balance we are having in in the account. And yeah, very rightly said, I see a message pop up. If a particular account is not related to UPI, you are also able to control your impulse buys. It's a little bit difficult, it takes a little bit time to go and do an actual bank transfer through an actual this one. So it actually helps us control in a certain way. So to protect yourself and to build an emergency fund and to also control your impulse buys, please have two different savings account and one should not be linked to any UPI. And once your emergency fund is built, please keep it in a FD so that it earns returns. It also allows you to liquidate the FD immediately and then use it for any kind of emergency. Please do not park it in any kind of market related funds. Not put it in even liquid fund or debt fund. There also you have chances of losing your original capital. Though the chances are very less, you still have chances. So please keep it in a separate account. Next is debts. So first you tick your insurance and then you tick your emergency fund. Emergency fund, even if you're able to save 100 rupees, 500 rupees, still start with that. Start somewhere, but you have to have something known as emergency fund. And then the third one is debt control. Consolidate your debts. Many people don't understand that credit card is a form of a debt. Does anyone know what is the interest rate that a person has to pay if they are not paying their credit card bill on time? What is the interest rate of your credit card? 12%? I couldn't catch that. How much?
18.
18? 12? Is that all? 32%? Okay, very close. See, when you actually read the documents, right, they'll say 12%, 18%, but they don't tell you, what they don't tell you is, how does it get compounded? A credit card is something which comes under the category of personal loan, and personal loan is one of the loan categories where interest rate is highest. And if you actually go and take a personal loan from the bank, they will tell you how much EMI you have to pay, how long you have to pay, everything is clear cut. But with credit card, what happens is, if you are not paying your credit card bill on time, you first will be penalized 500 rupees. You'll be penalized if you're not paying it on time, if you're not paying the minimum amount on time. And whether even if you're paying the minimum amount on time, the remaining amount, the interest will be charged on the remaining amount. And it gets compounded daily. It's not, many a times it's not monthly, it's not annually, it's daily. So for example, today, if I have not paid 500 rupees as my credit card bill, I forgot. I have not paid 500 rupees as a bill. For today, interest will be charged on the 500 rupees for one day. For tomorrow, the interest will be charged on 500 rupees plus the interest of today. For day after tomorrow, interest will be charged on 500 rupees plus the interest of today and tomorrow. So imagine the amount it can, how fast the dues can actually get compounded. Many of them, they convert their expenses into EMIs and they keep on paying EMIs. I have cousins who have who actually do their entire spending using credit card, and once their salary comes, they pay their credit card bill. Then again they spend using the credit card. It's a vicious cycle. You will have to break from it, and it will take around 6 to 8 months, maybe, depending upon uh, person to person. You may take time to come out of it, but you have to come out of it. Credit card is required, but again it has to be necessary. Okay, it is it should be, for example, suddenly the hospital will tell that you can admit the person only if you pay 25,000 rupees, only if it is 20,000 rupees. So in those kind of cases you need to have a credit card, but otherwise please do not use a credit card for any other expenditures. Then coming to other loans, your personal loan, your education loan, your home loan, we just see the repayment schedule, we see that so much of EMI we have to pay, and then we start running around, getting that money or earning more just to pay our EMIs. That is again a cycle which is, it's vicious. You first have to come out of your loans. And how do you actually come out of your loans? List out all your loans, list out the interest rate of all your loans, list out the EMIs of all your loans, and start paying off your smaller loans, or start paying off the loans where your interest rate is highest. And for that, you will have to control the other parameters, right? So for example, if our sugar level is high, we start controlling the intake of our sugar, right? If our BP is high, we start controlling the intake of our oil. So if we have to come out of our debt trap, if we want to come out of our loans, you will have to control your other expenditures. And again, for that, knowing your expenses is very important. So coming to that, your expense management. I had actually asked the question, right? Do you track your expenses? So it's difficult to track. Sometimes we just feel like going and buying something and then spending somewhere and then utilizing the money. Then you'll feel like, whom am I earning if I'm not spending for myself? It's okay. I'll go and buy this. Now, if I don't spend, when will I spend? So all these are, dialogues which we give ourselves. I have given it to myself too. And it is, we can live a good lifestyle. At the same time, we can manage our expenses better. So if you do not know where you're actually spending your money, first and foremost, please install an expense tracker and track all your expenses. If you know where you're spending your money, then you bifurcate that particular expense under these two categories. Is it a necessity or is it a lifestyle? If it is a necessity, yes. If it is a lifestyle expense, can I control it? Can I reduce it? And you need to control the lifestyle expenses if you are having to build all these three. If all these three are checked, then you can comfortably manage this as well. But you have to be aware. Now, if you saw one of the limiting beliefs, the maximum number of people, all 9 people have actually ticked lack of awareness, right? Lack of awareness doesn't just come in not knowing about which product to invest. Lack of awareness also comes in where you're not knowing about where you're actually spending the money. You have to know where your money is going. Is it a necessity? Is it a lifestyle expense? And if it's a lifestyle expense, do you really need it, or are you doing it just to be included in a particular social circle? And if you are doing that, you have to start working on how to get yourself free from that particular thing. I don't care about what others think. I have to build my life in this particular manner, so that tomorrow no one looks at, I'm not dependent on anyone else. So expense management is the most important thing that forms the crux for everything else. And the last one is the goal based investments. Every investment that you make, please tie it to a particular goal. And there is one more tip which I can actually give you in expense management is, some of the expenses are fixed. For example, your road tax, your house tax, and your vehicle insurance, your insurance premium. Some of the expenses are fixed. It comes once in a year. So when it comes once in a year, start preparing up for it through by using a recurring deposit. So I have my term insurance and I have my health insurance. So the month in which that particular premium has to be paid, I target that month and I start an RD 12 months back. So it pinches me when I'm paying the RD every single month because money is actually going out of my hand. But it does not pinch me in the month when I'm actually paying my premium, because at that time my RD has matured. I have got the money which I have to pay as premium, and I've got little bit of amount as interest also. So what is happening is I'm doing two things here. I am tying one of my investments. I'm tying the RD to a expense, and I'm also managing the bulk expenses. So that particular month, I don't have to swipe my credit card. That particular month, I don't have to be poor and I don't have to borrow money from home. So what are your expenses? What are your fixed expenses and how you can plan for the expenses? Start one RD for that. It'll pinch, yes. But if you do this diligently for 6 months, right, then you'll start getting into the habit and you'll start becoming much more better at managing your expenses. When I say finances, when I say financial goals, we think of too many big things. But let's say you're earning X amount. Out of that X amount, some amount will be going for preparing for your insurance premiums. Some amount will go off as your emergency fund. Some amount is for your loan in case you have a loan. Some amount is expenses. Remaining amount is actually very less, and managing that amount is not very difficult. You can start using a micro SIP. So I had told, right, micro SIP starts from 10 rupees. In which type of funds you can actually do this is index funds. Index funds is nothing but it will just copy the market behavior. So if we don't know how to choose a large cap fund or mid cap fund, we generally have this because analysis paralysis, like we do too much of analysis. We don't know which to choose. Start with that. You start and then you will start learning, but start with it. And then tie it to that, tie a particular thing. So many of us, we spend on certain things which we don't want to compromise. So I don't want to compromise on what I spend on my travels. When I travel, I want to spend comfortably and I want to come back. So for some people, it will be dresses. Some people, it will be self grooming. Some people, it will be uh, studying, or some people, it will be entertainment. So if you are having those kind of expenses which you don't want to sacrifice, put a budget for that. I don't want to spend more than 2000 rupees for this particular thing. So if you're planning for a travel in a particular year, start an RD for that and tie an RD for that particular expense. See, these are behaviors which we have to inculcate to reach to a level where we want to go. So first thing is become self-aware of where you are now. The Google form itself is a instrument which might have given you certain thoughts. What am I actually doing? Do I have to do this? Do such options, is it there? Then take action. And then you see where you actually want to go and what you're actually doing. So I have some more pointers which will actually help you take actions for it. Before going to that, are there any questions with regard to these points?
Yeah,
All
Pradeepa
these
has her hand up.
yeah. Yes.
Hey, hi, Urmila. So, do you recommend any particular expense tracker? Do you find something that's really working out for you?
Okay, I was also very lazy. I never tracked my expenses, and I usually thought, let me save, and then whatever's remaining, I will spend that. But then what I have tried is I have tried an app called Toshal, TOSHL. The only reason being it gives a web interface. I don't have much space in my phone, so I don't want to download one more app. It gives me a web interface, and then it just lets me track all expenses month on month, and it just gives me a very simple graph. So I just go put a category like clothing or entertainment, and then under that I record my expenses, and then I'll be able to see under a particular category how much I've actually spent. So that is what I use. But I have heard there are a lot of other apps which gives you a much more better user friendly interface, so you can explore. But I use Social because the data privacy management is good, and also it gives me a web interface and I don't want to track it on the phone.
Okay, Yeah,
Any other
thank you.
questions? Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions with regard to these points?
There is a comment by Indu that the RD idea was awesome. And thanks, Pradeepa, for sharing the link to the app mentioned by Urmila. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, let's move on. Um, Again, the takeaway from this is all these are mandatory. You cannot compromise on anything. You have to have insurances, you have to have emergency fund, and then this, and then tie all your investments to goal based investments. So if we just go back to that particular Google form response, if you see majority of them have responded, I have investments but I'm not tying it to the any goal. But that's a wrong thing to do. You have to tie it to a goal, because then the accountability comes. You don't get it doesn't come to your mind that okay, let me just take this money and give it off, because you're taking off that money and giving it off because it's not tied to any goal. But if you continue doing that, then in the long run you wouldn't be able to achieve whatever goals you want to achieve also. So please be very mindful. Whatever investment you do, many of you have even put chit funds. Whatever investment you do, tie it to a particular goal. Okay, so let's look at some pointers which you can actually take it. So mandatory spends is the first one. um, we have already visited this. Retirement funds, save something for your retirement, and it should be something apart from your provident fund at work. So suddenly something happens tomorrow, you're not able to work, then provident fund stops, the contribution stops, right? But apart from provident fund, you should also have something else. So don't just keep one particular scheme in mind and say that my retirement preparation is done. No, many people think that I am investing in national pension scheme, that is enough. I'm putting in PPF, that's enough. No, you need to have multiple funds targeted at your retirement, because if you're having NPS at office or individually, national pension scheme funds are tied to the market. You don't know how much money you will actually get when you retire. See, many of the people who retired during COVID, they might have thought they might have got good money, but market crashed during COVID. So whatever money they actually withdrew from their funds were lesser than what they actually expected. So if you're planning for long-term goals, please ensure that you have market-linked funds as well as guaranteed funds like your PF. So you do not depend on one particular thing. And then have specific funds for this as well. So as I told, like how you can have a travel fund, have a hobby fund, or have a upskilling fund, or have a wish buying fund, so that you limit your expenses, you don't spend exorbitantly. At the same time, you also get the satisfaction of spending something on which you want to spend. Yes, so I'll proceed. So here's an idea. This is something which I learned when I was working in the bank. One of my seniors had actually told it. Imagine your investments to be a cake. So for every cake, the base is very important, right? That sponge is very important. Without that sponge, there's no cake. So the sponge, that big part of the cake, should be your long-term funds. You have to build your insurances, your provident fund, your retirement plans, all that. It should be a part of that particular sponge. It is mandatory, and you also have to put money into low risk investments. You need not take that much of risk. The cream part of it, you can actually put it for your medium risk investments like your mutual funds and all those things. You can put it over there, so that you're taking some amount of risk and you're getting a little bit more returns also. And your cherries, that is very little amount of money, you have to put it in your high risk investments. So for example, if you're having 100 rupees to invest, out of 100 rupees, approximately 50 rupees you can put it in low risk investment, 30 rupees you can put it in medium risk investment, 20 rupees you can put it in high risk investment. But this risk thing is individual. It's specific to an individual. Some people like taking more risk, some people like taking less risk, but predominantly we women, we prefer low risk because we don't want to experiment on our hard earned money. But we have to be open to learn and explore. So when you are learning and exploring also, be very cautious that your base, your cake is taken care of. And only with the remaining amount of little money, you actually want to take more risk. You're trying to take more risk. You're putting it in the stock market. So even if the cherries are lost, you can still enjoy the cake. Okay. Can I proceed? Any questions here?
Yeah, hi Urmila. So I
Yeah.
have a question. So I wanted to understand about the e-gold as an investment, and where do you see this as an investment? Which category of the slab that does it fall in? Low, medium, or high, according to you?
E-gold, I think it should be between low and medium. There's not
Okay.
much risk. E-gold investments, they are directly tied to gold, and you do not have your making charges and your wastages. At the same time, you are getting your benefit of the gold rate appreciation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Okay, so it wouldn't be high risk because you will not lose your capital at the rate in which gold is actually going. But
mm-hmm.
there might be certain kind of economic situations where the gold rates might also fall, but it will not fall too low where you
Mm-hmm.
will even lose your capital. So e-gold is still safe. It has more benefits than your physical gold.
Understood. Yeah. Thank you.
But if you are actually investing in e-gold, again, tie it to a particular goal.
Okay. Okay.
For
I'll
what are
take
you
that
actually
advice.
saving that? Yeah. So it- we a lot of influencers, a lot of people are coming online and saying diversify your assets, diversify your investments, and all those things. And then we also try to bring in a lot of variety into our investments, like real estate, gold, mutual funds, stock market, bonds, FDs, RDs, whatever it is, we try to bring in, thinking that our asset diversification is good. But again, ultimately, each thing has to be tied to a goal. And for that goal, again, do a reverse check. Is that asset classification investment good for that particular goal? So first you determine your goals and then you backtrack to choosing investments to match the goals. Let's not have all the things into our plate. Let's first think what we want to achieve and then backtrack and then choose the right option. That will give you a much more clear picture on achieving your goals. Okay.
I
Can
understand.
I
Thank
proceed?
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let me proceed. So self check. How much do you earn? Where does it go? How much of your earnings do you handle? And do you have access to your funds being handled by someone else? This is a self check which we have to do. So many of us, we go for a health checkup only when we feel sick, right? So that feeling, we get to know that if we are feeling sick only when we do a self check of ourselves. Our temperature is very high. We are feeling very weak. We are feeling very tired. We are feeling nauseous. So with respect to finances, this is the first thing you have to do. So as a part of the self check, please go and look into your salary slip. What are the components of a salary slip? Okay. And what are the fixed components and what are the variable components of a salary slip? And then compare 3 months of salary slip. What is the difference between the 3 months salary slip? Is it varying or is it fixed? Our understanding of our own money should start with our salary slip. Should start with our income flow. With respect to freelancers and entrepreneurs, it has to start with that. What is the inflow? And then what is the outflow? And where are you actually spending it? And once you see where you're actually spending it, what is necessary and what is my lifestyle expense, what is my want, and what I can control. So this self check is very important. Like how you're doing a quarterly check. Someone had actually mentioned you go for a quarterly check just for your sugar and BP. This minor self check is actually important. Please do it monthly. If you're starting a financial journey now, it has to be done monthly. Please do it monthly. So if you are doing this monthly, consciously you will become aware of where your money is going, and then you will be able to control that, and then you will be able to achieve your long term goals. The first thing you have to do is self check. Second thing is your goals list. What are your goals? What are your family's goals? What's the timeline of those goals, and how much of your fund goes into these goals? So let's say you're starting your retirement fund now. You want to build money for your retirement. It's a very long term goal, right? So you can start putting little bit amount of money in that. You don't have to put a lot of money in that. You can start putting little bit amount of money in that. And then as and when years go and you start earning more, you can scale up your funds towards your retirement. But if you have a goal which is next year, you want to travel somewhere, or you have a family expense next year, you can start putting a little bit more money into that particular goal. So become aware of your goals, your personal goals, your family goals. Both are separate. Please have a clear bifurcation of both. What are your family goals? What are your personal goals? How much money is going into that? And what is the timeline of that? So the shorter it is, more money has to go into it, and it has to be a less risky investment. Shorter goals have to have a less risky investment. Medium term goals, 3 to 5 years, it has to have a medium, it can have a medium risk investment, low to medium risk, and little bit more money into it. Long term, you can afford to take more risk, and you can actually put little bit more, you can start with little amount of money into that. I think there's a question there. Can someone read it out, please? I can't see it.
Yeah, I have a question related to financial independence. We can park that question after you've completed your content. That's from Pradeepa.
Okay, done. So I just have few more slides. I'll finish it, and we have ample time for, yeah. So develop finance habits, periodic financial check, speak finances. Please talk about money at home. Make it normalize talking about finances is very important, because just like how we consciously unconsciously picked up habits from our parents, your kids and your people who are younger to you also will pick habits from you. So if you normalize financial conversations, talking about finances, discussing about these things, they will understand that it is very normal to talk about these finances, and they will tend to start early and become financially prudent. Pass on the information. If you get something, discuss the risks, discuss whether it is good or bad and how can you actually do it, and then seek guidance on the unknown. Go to authentic sources to actually get good information. Seek guidance. Let's not have a laid back attitude that I don't know, I don't want to do it. Predominantly, researchers have found that women say they don't know as an answer to a lot of questions related to finance compared to men. So let's not say I don't know. Let's become more proactive and actually learning about things, and have a to-do list. Check your insurances. Is it enough, or do you have to scale it? Periodically check your insurances annually. Envision your retirement life, what kind of retirement life you want, and then backtrack and then start preparing for it. Assess your asset allocation. Where have you parked your money? Have you parked it in only government related funds like PPF or PF, or only in market related funds like mutual funds and stock market, or only in gold or real estate where it is locked? You won't be able to easily sell it. Where have you parked your asset allocation? Do you have enough insurance? Do you have enough emergency fund? Is each goal tied to an investment? That has to be checked. And learn the art of deferring your expenditure. Have an account which is not linked to any UPI. And then if you want to buy something, instead of using a credit card and then paying the bill later, just allocate some amount of money, save for 2-3 months, and then buy it. By then you will have taken a decision whether to actually buy it, whether you really need it. This is for some exorbitant expenditure. So for example, um, I know of a person who wanted to, suddenly she felt like splurging on an ice cream machine, the one which you see in on Master Chefs, right? The big churning one. It there you actually use it to churn out ice cream for 15 to 20 people, and it's not a equipment which is actually required for your house. You want to have an ice cream which is not very often, or once in a week also, maybe you go out, have it and come. But there's no point in investing so much on a particular equipment which you will not use it, right? but many of us are guilty of doing it. And if we learn the art of deferring our expenditure, we will save ourselves of much mental agony later. So these are some sources where I feel you get authentic information and tried and tested by me. So I'm not associated with any one of them, and it is totally an unbiased recommendation. So for insurance, you can contact Ditto Insurance and book an appointment. They will get back to you and explain to you, and they will give you tailored advice according to what you need, and they do not spam. And Zerodha Varsity, they have live sessions. See, this is basically a brokerage company, but what they've done is they have started spreading financial awareness so that people will come back to them itself for business. They are creating an awareness through which they are marketing a need, and they are actually giving a solution. But the platform is brilliant with respect to content. YouTube channel is very good, website is very detailed, and they also have live sessions. I highly recommend their YouTube channel. Check their YouTube channel first, Zaroda Varsity. There are a lot of tips on how to budget, how to come out of debt, and then how to choose health and term insurance. A lot of information on that. And once that is done, then you attend their live sessions are purely on trading, on purely on stock market. And if you're a reader and if you want to consume content directly, they have their website also, the Zerara Varsity website, where all the content related to trading and trading and investing is given under modules. And they have a particular course on personal finance also, so it talks in detail about health insurance, term insurance, emergency funds, etc., etc. And then 01 by Zerodha, it gives you a lot of minute information on how to choose mutual funds, how to manage your debt, how to manage your expenses, how to do an SIP. So all those things are given in micro videos. It's very good. And if you want authentic financial advisors and planners, please visit SEBI website. There are a lot of people registered under that. And if you want a planner or advisor, please ensure that they are registered under the SEBI and you just don't get influenced by someone who gives you half-baked information. And SEBI also has a lot of calculators which you can use for planning your investments, like retirement calculator, your SIP calculator, your expense calculator. All that is available in SEBI website. So this is all the information I had to give it to you today. Hope this session was useful. We can have the questions now.
Go ahead, Pradeepa, ask.
Hey, Urmila, excellent session. Thanks a lot. And 2 hours, I think, well spent today. Right. So I'll give a little background on where do I stand with respect to investments and things like that, Urmila. In my home, I take care of finances for my family. That includes my husband as well, and his expenses, which is something that I'm super proud of. And I do a lot of research, and we talked about diversifying the portfolio. We talked about essentially making sure that a good percentage of us invested towards low risk, and a bit of 20 to 30% on the high risk. I'm not averse to risk, so my proportion is slightly different from what you suggested, but I do have that diversity. What is something that is recently running in my mind is essentially the financial independence, right? So at my stage, let's say I quit my job, right? I can comfortably go probably 1 or 2 or 3 months without salary. But can I do it for a year? That's a big question mark. Can I do it for 5 years? Can I retire early? Do I have to wait till 60 years to retire? What if I'm tired of doing this job and I want to retire, right? So those are some of the things that are running in my mind. If in order to actually get there, I need steady income that comes every month from my investment, that are more or less essentially same as how I run my life right now, right? So, yeah, long story short, what are your thoughts on getting there?
So if you want to earn a steady income from your investments, your corpus has to be a lot, right? Your corpus has to be huge. And if you want that kind of a huge corpus, you have to start building it when you're actually earning. So if you're, in today's scenario, there are a lot of layoffs. So when you're earning itself, you start, I suggest two things. One is start investing in upskilling yourself so that maybe down the line you can build a parallel source of income. Okay, that is one thing. And one more thing is start building a corpus where down the line it can actually start giving you a passive source of income. It can start earning money for yourself. So start building that particular corpus. So target that. Actually very good point, especially in today's scenario where we don't know when we'll actually face a layoff. So when you're earning, you start building a corpus which can act as the secondary source of income, and at the same time start investing on upskilling yourself or learning something new which is relevant so that you can continue to stay relevant to the job market.
And what are some
That's
of the
it.
means, Urmila, when you say that can earn, right? Like we're talking about MFs or let's say a property that you can rent out that gives regular income. What are some of the, let's say, top two or three?
Top two or three, I would say, see, real estate, what happens is if you have enough money to invest in a real estate, then yes. But then will the real estate will it give you enough money back compared to what you will actually invest in it? It's a big question mark. Because now at this particular scenario, especially in the tier one cities, the rental income which you can actually get from any particular property is just 2 to 5% of what you have actually invested in a particular property. So if you
Mm,
already have it, then well and good. But if you want to get an income, and for that if you're buying a property so that you get in a rental income, then it's a big question mark, because from where are you actually getting the money to buy that particular property? It doesn't
mm,
make sense to put a home loan and buy a house and put it on rent and then earn rental income.
mm,
It
mm,
doesn't make sense in today's scenario, because rental income yield is very disproportionate to what you have actually invested in that particular property. So instead,
mm,
build that money and then put it in fixed income instruments like bonds, and
mm,
then tailor that. Okay, this is a very personal suggestion of mine. So again I say finance is very personal, right? So you have to know how to individually tailor it to yourself. So it's just a suggestion. Build a corpus and then tailor it to bonds, such a way that the bonds will actually mature in each of the month where you actually require the income. Okay, so
mm,
I can just give you two three life scenarios. So for example, there was one particular person who invested in bonds continuously in such a way that every at the end of around 5 to 10 years of cycle, he had some money coming into his account every month, because a bond
mm,
was actually maturing. Okay,
mm,
and what he used to do is, when the amount matures and it comes, he used to add some more money to it and then again reinvest. So
mm,
when he continuously did it, he was able to build a very targeted corpus amount, because you are exactly knowing how much money you will actually get when you are withdrawing from that.
mm,
Mutual
mm.
funds, I wouldn't recommend mutual funds for getting fixed income every single month, because
Yeah,
there's a lot of stamp duty which goes off and then it's related to market, so you don't know how much money you'll actually get, right? So I
correct.
don't recommend withdrawal plans personally, but mutual funds is a great avenue to build investments, provided it is tied to a particular goal. But if you want some fixed money every single month, then you will have to go for fixed instruments. You can try this out in bonds, you can try this out in national savings certificate, you can try this out in FDs, you can try this in any instruments which actually gives you a fixed amount every month. But for building the corpus, you have to give yourself enough time, 5 to 10 years. So
Mm,
as in when you work simultaneously, you build a corpus. I also strongly suggest simultaneously you invest in upskilling yourself also, because it's my prediction that down the line, down 10 years, we have to have two jobs. Otherwise, we won't be able to sustain. Suddenly something happens and we lose the job, AI comes and takes it, we need to have a backup.
That's
Yeah,
not 10
there's
years
not.
away. That's happening now.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, Urmila. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, Urmila. My name is Pavitra. The question I wanted to ask is regarding all the investments that we have. How do we track it? Because one example that you gave, right, that during COVID, if somebody resigned, they actually did not get a yield because the market was down during that time. So, generally, how do we track better? Because one way is to go and manually check where it is today, or use apps like probably we have these Grow, etc., kind of apps, so that will only track the investments we have made through that app, right? But is there a
Yep.
better way? Could be technology oriented, or whatever best practice that you can share. How can we really see, like a one view, what is getting a better yield? Or I don't want to be blindsided later saying, oh my God, this is going down and I forgot to check it. I should have made a switch, or I should have, taken out money, put somewhere else. So decisions like that, how can I track it better over a period of time? This was my first one, and maybe after this, I'll ask the second.
Okay, so I don't use any apps where I input all the data and keep a track, because I personally don't trust the app. Some other third party having access to all my financial data. I track everything using an Excel sheet. So when you have a fixed investment like an FD or an RD, right? You just key in the detail, and then you know when it's going to mature and how much you're actually going to get, and how much money and what goal is that particular investment tied up to. You build it in your Excel sheet, password protect the Excel sheet, and then keep it with you. So that is the best thing, because if you are putting it online or if you are putting it in any other app, I personally don't advise that. One thing is, um, with respect to mutual funds, if you're investing in mutual funds through any app, you get all the details in that app itself. Otherwise, you get some statement called a scam statement, where irrespective of whichever company you invested into mutual funds, all the mutual funds statement can come under one view. There is a site called a scams statement.
Yeah.
For mutual funds, you can use that. Okay, and then for all your stock related investments, you have to check your broker site only, and then all your fixed investments, you maintain it in an Excel sheet. See, you wouldn't be blindsided later if you are actually tying your investments with goals. So, for example, if you are building an emergency fund, like I told you, it has to be built in a FD or an RD. Okay, so that you are building something towards it, so that you will get to know the exact detail of when it is actually going to mature and what it actually going to use it. It's an emergency, only for that you will use it. Whereas for mutual funds, all your mutual funds and all your stock investments, you can consolidate it within one particular brokerage company itself. So for example, if you are investing in Zerodha, so even if you're having mutual funds from other AMCs, you can get it transferred to Zerodha and maintain everything over there. So you will be having two platforms. One is Excel sheet and one is the brokerage company, but still that is manageable, instead of putting everything in a particular expense tracker. And for all your emergency requirements and for your fixed expenses, please have investments such as your FDs and RDs, for which you can very easily find out what amount you're going to get and when, so that we are not at a disadvantage later.
Okay, so the Excel sheet I am doing already, and linking it to a goal, that also I am doing currently.
Okay.
However, when it comes to investments in the stock market or IPO based investments, those I am not linking it to a goal, because I don't really know what the end value or how it will turn out. So I don't do like a invest today, take out tomorrow kind of. I keep long term, so that's why I don't know, so I don't link it to a goal. But in the pyramid that you showed, would these kind of investments come under the high risk category at the top that you showed? So would that come there, and also should we link that also to a goal?
Yes, see, if stock market investments and mutual funds are definitely high risk investments, what you can do is you can link it to long term goals. Like something, you want to buy a house after 10 years, or you want to retire after so many years. Link it to that. And then what happens is, as in when you age, right, you will have to start reducing your exposure to markets, and you have to start increasing, transferring your funds from equity to debt, equity to safe investments like your FDRD, those kind of investments. You have to start doing that shift as in when you age. So that is why I'm telling, when each investment is actually linked to a particular goal, right, you will also be able to actively manage that. Short term is definitely low risk investments, and if you're having a high risk investments, it's good, because in the long run it might give you a good return. But as in when you age, you will have to reduce your exposure to markets and start withdrawing money and shifting the bulk of it towards debt instruments. So for now you don't have to do any shift, depending upon your age again, that is. But
Mhm.
as in when you age, you have to slowly start doing that.
Okay.
See, it's again, I'm not telling you a particular percentage because it's very individual specific. Generally, what they say is your equity or market exposure should be 100 minus your age. This is a very common rule, but this is an outdated rule. So, for example, if I am 40 years old, so 100 minus 40, 60% of my investments should be in equity, 40% should be in debt. So after 2 or 3 years, or after 5 years, that 60% gets reduced to 55%, and my debt instruments gets increased by 45%. So this shift should be consciously done, but the percentage is not fixed. You can actually take control of it, but you have to consciously do it so that you don't end up having a lot of money, and when you're nearing that particular goal, that is after 10 years or 15 years, the market doesn't crash, and then you are uh, left with lesser amount than what you actually expected.
Okay.
I hope it answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And the second question I mentioned was a small one on the house, buying of a house kind of goal that you mentioned, right? So I do have that as a long-term goal, but the question that I have is, and I have goal-linked investment going on as well, but can you recommend some good resources that I can go and check, which would tell me the more intricate details around a buying of a house, like what kind of commercials go in? I've heard so many stories, good and bad, about how money sometimes you give, you don't get back, let's say, or you have to give some percentage at the beginning, some in the middle. So there are probably some good ways to manage this. So are there any good resources that you can recommend, so I can read up on it and learn more?
I do not have any such resources with respect to real estate specifically, but I would suggest that you go and check the YouTube channel on 01 by Zerodha. I'm not very sure whether you will actually find the information which you're looking for it though, because see, buying a house, there are multiple things, right? You can actually buy a built house, you can buy a used flat, you can buy a new flat, or you can buy a yet to be constructed flat, or you can buy a land and then you can construct on your own. There are multiple things, right? So the thing is, you will have to first decide on what exactly you want to do, and then you have to start collating the information around that, because this information is extremely dynamic and it keeps changing. So people who bought and registered property before December last year, they paid much lesser taxes than what people are actually doing now, because the government has changed its rules. So there is no particular thing which is constant with respect to that. I would suggest you, if you're having a dream of buying a house, you try to understand what kind of dream it actually is. Do you want to have a flat? Do you want to buy a used flat? Do you want to construct? So all these things you first narrow it down, and then start collecting information related to that. And then just keep in mind that all this information can become outdated very very quickly, because buying a house and the policies which everything, the policies and everything linked to it keeps changing. So for example, you you used to get a concession in your electricity connection if you have a solar heater installed. This was one of the rules. But with respect to Tamil Nadu, rainwater harvesting is a mandate. If you don't have a rainwater harvesting mechanism in that particular building, then you have to have more, pay more taxes. So it's very, very specific. So I wouldn't be able to give you a concrete source for that. I would suggest you narrow it down and then you start collecting information related to your particular choice.
Yeah, last question maybe, sorry.
No
So,
problem.
what's your recommended e-gold investment platform or brokerage company?
I do not invest in gold. So I only invest in ETFs, gold
Okay.
ETFs.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I have not invested in e-gold, so I wouldn't be able to recommend.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Urmila. This has been a phenomenal session. Lots of questions. I think people were totally glued. Ishita, do you want to close it?
There's one request, Shanti,
Yeah.
to people who are still there. So I would be giving a link to a feedback form. Again, link to the questions and the topics discussed in this particular thing. So I would request the people who are here, and I think people, some of them have already left also. So I would request you to please ask them to fill the form. So I would be giving it another hour probably.
We'll try. We've never done these feedbacks for these open sessions, but we can post it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Looking forward to seeing you in our next session. Take care. Bye-bye.